slides. Hello there, everyone. My name's Kate Cooper, as you've heard a few times, thanks to Steve. And by day, I'm CEO of OKX Australia. We're, in any given day, the second largest exchange in the world. But by night, I am a founding faculty member of a new institute called the Humanware Institute. And one of the things that we do at OKX, in addition to providing the trading infrastructure, the plumbing, the pipes for the new digital finance era, is we provide insights, and insights that we hope give our clients, and in particular our VIP clients, alpha. And so what I thought I'd do today is something slightly different than perhaps even Steve was expecting, is I thought I'd combine those two worlds, the OKX world and the Humanware Institute world, give you a bit of insight in terms of what I'm seeing from a kind of a tech platform perspective, but also an insight of what I'm seeing about the role we as humans need to play in an increasingly AI-driven world. And I was at an AFR event about 2 weeks ago, and there was a panel of academics, some of the top academics in AI, but also journalists. And I asked this question of them. The phrase I used wasn't smart money. I borrowed that from Steve for today. But I posed the question, will hardware, software, or humanware be the key to smart money in an AI-driven world by 2030? And in this next 10 minutes, I want to make the case for why I believe most of your thesis are insufficient. Not wrong, but insufficient in terms of the way that you're thinking about what I call the value stack, which has hardware on the bottom. Hardware is the energy, the compute, the GPUs, the data centers, everything that we hear about a lot in the news. Then you've got the software on top of it, which is the LLMs that we hopefully are all using every day now. And for me, what's really interesting about those two layers, and this has been the case with over the last 30 years, is both of those are commoditized. You can go and you can buy a ChatGPT subscription for $20 a month, or use the free version. And so both of those are commoditized. But my thesis is that the only thing you cannot buy is the humanware layer. And that's the judgment, the creativity that humans bring to the technology, and that's thoroughly misunderstood and underinvested. And in an increasingly AI-driven world, it's the layer that we need to put more and more focus on in order to extract value from our capital investments. And it's quite a bold thesis. So let's go through, and I wanted to start just by talking about why I think 2026 is different. Why do I think, and I agree with Steve, 2026 is ultra exciting. And you'll see 4 curves on the screen. Here I've depicted digital assets, I've depicted tokenization, programmable money, AI, and agentic commerce. But there could be many other curves of different technology on the screen, because there's a lot going on at the moment. And each one of these started its own S-curve over a decade or so ago. Each one matured quietly while the others were doing the same. Every digital technology, as I'm sure all of you know, follows the same arc, a long quiet period where almost nothing seems to happen, then followed by a steep climb where adoption compounds and technology rewires entire industries, and then plateaus where growth slows. Obviously, your game is getting in at the bottom while it's still in the quiet phase, so you benefit from the uptick of the acceleration phase. And we've lived through this through many cycles: internet, mobile, cloud, social. And each curve looked underwhelming when you were at that kind of base level, when it was still forming, when the infrastructure was still forming. But it actually looked inevitable at the peak and obvious in hindsight. And the strategic question is never whether a curve will play out, it's where you're standing on it and what's forming beneath it, which brings me to 2026. You're looking at a moment now where we've got multiple S-curves converging. It's not just one technology hitting its steep incline, it's all at the same one, and each is already past the quiet base, which is the bit that isn't so good news for those in the room who haven't invested. If you have, well done. And when the S-curve converges, systems don't move incrementally, they re-architect. The old playbook was built for when the curves sat far apart from each other. Each one was an interesting bet, but defensible side allocation. You could run digital assets as a sleeve, you could watch tokenization from the sidelines, treat programmable money as an experiment, and pilot AI in the corner of your business. That posture worked when the curves were independent. It breaks the moment they interact, because the intersection is not a sum of 4 trends. It is a new operating layer. And I believe, and I would assert, that also requires a new humanware layer to operate that new system. So I'm going to explore 2 reports that OKX has commissioned in the last 12 months, both of which have been released since March. The first of the 2 reports I wanted to talk you through today is a research that we did with a company called Core Data, and we ended up calling the report Voting with Their Super, because originally the report was intended to be an internal document, us understanding what was happening with digital assets and self-managed super funds in particular. But a far more profound trend came through the data that we found. And so we felt it was really important to publicly publish the report. And I wanted to share some of the findings with you now. There will be a copy, if you'd like a copy, available at the OKX stand after lunch. They're just coming from the printing press, so not until after lunch. But there are a number of different findings from the report. Very specifically, we've seen a significant uptick in the number of self-managed super funds being created over the last 3 years. In 24-25, it was a 90% year-on-year increase. And I was speaking to Peter Burgess, who chairs the Self-Managed Super Fund Association last week, and he was saying the numbers for the most recent 12 months are looking certainly similar in terms of uplift. And what's really interesting about that those new self-managed super fund holders, the 33,000 odd of them, is that they show 2 factors at play. One is they're driven largely by the under 45 age group, and which is very surprising given that the overall trustee population is actually under 45s make up only about 15% historically. And so we were really interested in kind of that age dynamic and what was underneath that age dynamic. And then the second thing that the report showed, which I was really surprised by, is that a key driver of the establishment of SMSFs in the last 3 years has been the desire to invest in digital assets. And we saw a huge amount of conviction in terms of the way people were using their SMSFs to get access to those alternative asset classes. And when we asked Core Data, when Core Data asked the trustees why are you setting up SMSFs? Why are you accessing digital assets in a way that has never been done before? The trustees answered something that really the industry may not have predicted. The primary driver, interestingly, was not returns. It was not cost. It was control. They said that above everything else, the reason for establishing their SMSFs was control. And the reason for investing in the digital asset ecosystem was to have control of their financial futures. Now, hardware and software have changed enormously over 30 years. New asset classes have arrived, returns have moved, costs have come down. The structural change in this data is none of those things. It's who decides and why. And as I say, half of those trustees name control. The humanware insight is present in every level, and it's really interesting to see that it's the human judgment, the human decisions, the human desire for control that has driven adoption from a self-managed super fund perspective. We had a number of industry funds in the room when we launched this piece of research a couple of weeks ago, and it was really interesting. I won't name the fund, but someone told me that the data from this report reflects their internal research, and that they had just run a piece of research that has indicated 37% of their member base were planning to invest in digital assets in the next 12 months. So they were, at the time, scrambling to try and work out how can they, within the parameters of regulation, access or give their members access to that, because otherwise they're going to be voting with their super and walking to the self-managed super fund space. The other key trends that came through, and Steve touched on it earlier, is tokenisation of real-world assets. And the conversation I have with trustees every day is that this isn't just about crypto. Crypto actually has been kind of the slow ramp up to the really pivotal part of the S-curve in this space, because I think the best is yet to come. And increasingly, as we see tokenisation of real-world assets, that really is the game in town. I flew in from Singapore overnight, and this time yesterday I was sitting with our global CEO, Star, and he said in that meeting he anticipates 90% of all assets trading on our platform within the next 4 years will be not cryptocurrencies but tokenized real-world assets. Now, we'll see whether he's right, but I think for you as allocators in the room, the opportunity to look at those alternative asset classes that are becoming increasingly institutionalized, are becoming increasingly adopted, increasingly available, is an area that I'd really encourage you to look at. The second report that I wanted to touch on before I wrap up is a report that we commissioned with the Digital Finance Cooperative Research Centre. And they are a government-funded body that work very closely with the RBA. And we wanted to understand what the potential economic upside is of digital finance for Australia specifically. And so we worked with them over a 12-month period. They conducted the research completely independently, and they were able to quantify in a very, very detailed, over 100-page report, that the economic upside for digital finance for Australia is at $24 billion per annum. That's about 1% of GDP. But that on our current trajectory, we're only on course to realise about 1 billion of that value. And so the conversation that I had with them is, okay, what are we going to see happen to unlock that value? One of the things that's happened recently is we have had new legislation come into force around the licensing of digital assets. We operate under an Australian Financial Services licence already, but moving forward, every single player in the market is going to be required to. And that is undoubtedly one of the levers to realise that productivity benefit. But the one main lever that the report called out was not the hardware, not the software. The report said we actually have everything we need in place to realise that productivity benefit. We have Australian dollar stable coins. The report found that actually the thing that was needed was coordination. Coordination of the institutions and the human beings who are the key to unlocking that productivity uplift for Australia. And for me, sitting with my Humanware Institute hat on, I was utterly fascinated. It really made me think about the role that we as human beings need to continue to play in an AI-driven world. So in your own organisation, don't just think about the money, don't just think about the technology, although it's incredibly important. Make sure you think about the humans that are around you, and make sure you empower them to keep authoring the smart capital allocation. Not the model, not the agent, the people. It's absolutely pivotal. One thing I wanted to touch on before I hand back is everything I've walked through today is part of the work, the corpus of work that OKX Australia does. Like I say, on the App Store, you'll see our app and trading platform. But our VIP clients in particular get access to the research, the frameworks, the structural read on where capital is going next, and the humanware shifts beneath it. And you only need to have 150k allocated to digital assets on our platform to become a VIP. So if you're interested, if that's something that you'd like access to, we'll be around all day. You can book time in with a team member, myself. I'm really happy to have a conversation. It's not about a pitch. I'm much more interested in having really interesting conversations with people about the macro trends we're seeing, the geopolitical trends we're seeing, the societal trends we're seeing affect both short-term and long-term returns. Thank you for your time.